Hey guys, welcome to She Knows Arsenal. This is a live show, obviously. You guys can tell that. So make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel and get into the comments and let me know how you guys are thinking and feeling. I'm sorry, it's too hot in here. Let me turn off the heat. Oh, it was way too hot. I was like, oh, I'm burning up. Anyways, hey guys, happy Thursday. I missed you guys over the last couple of days, but we have loads to talk about, which is great. We're going to be talking about Klopp. Klopp is scared, y'all. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about Klopp being scared of Arsenal. How the turntables. Should Odegaard still be captain? I wanted to touch on that because there have been some conversation amongst Arsenal fans around whether or not Odegaard should still be captain and whether or not he should be stripped and the captaincy being given to Declan Rice. I have thoughts on that. The Super League is back, a new format, a new scandal. When will this go away? And we got an Orny bomb, which is what most of you guys are here for. But listen, we have multiple things to talk about. So with the Orny bomb, he spoke about Douglas Luiz, Ivan Toney, Osimhen, Zubamendi, and Eben Ferguson. So we're going to get into all of that as well. But stick with me, guys, because we have loads to talk about, which is great. Make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel. Let's see who's all in here. Arsenal Adventure says, hi, Jacinho. Tweet from Orny. Orny was so ambiguous. It really was. And I think you can read between the lines in some things. He said some things would not happen, but he also did not say that certain things would not happen, right? So if that makes sense, like he didn't speak about a defender not happening. So maybe that means the defender is coming in. Errol says, evening, Jess, how are you doing? I'm doing great. It is still morning time here, 11, but I feel like it's been like a whole day. I've been up since maybe 4 o'clock in the morning. I did a show earlier. I did 2 shows earlier. So I'm getting towards the end of my day, but I feel like I've been up for a long time, despite it only being 11 here. Arsenal Adventure says, I'm here for the Bomba. Chosen One says, what's up, Lionel Jesse? I'm great, you guys. I really can't complain. Like I said, make sure you guys are liking the video and all that. Kirsch says, good evening, guys. Boy says, I'll be very surprised if we make any sort of transfer move without some big names leaving the club. Listen, Arsenal need cash, money to do anything in January. So again, some of these players that people are desperate to keep would have to go in order for, somebody to come in. So keep that in mind. Clement says, good afternoon, Jess, and She Knows Arsenal fam. Contradicting Tony reports, Arsenal have interest in Martin Zubamendi. Arsenal not interested in Solanke, and European Super League is back. Also, you guys, Tony has been twerking just like Mudryk. And when people start twerking, they don't get the move. Okay, so keep that in mind. Well, if you guys haven't been paying attention to that, I will definitely get you guys updated on that as well. Adamola says, Odegaard should remain the captain, please. We do not want anything disturbing the union and the team compliments of the seasons. Jess and Latte says, buy it. Listen, if you guys want people to come in, you got to be open for people to go, so I don't know. We can't keep everybody, it doesn't make any sense. So yeah, O'Malley said, if you're not up to drop a like, give your ticket to someone else. And that is exactly where we're going to start, because you guys, Klopp is scared. I'm convinced Klopp is scared. And as much as Liverpool fans are trying to tell me that this video does not signal any sense of like fear, have a whole seat. Or maybe stand up, because Klopp said, if you can't stand up, don't come to the games. Let's get into it.
Me having an argument with the opposition coach. We need Anfield on Saturday. Without Anfield, I would say after they didn't play this week, just to make sure I know. Sorry, they didn't play. They prepare for this game, and who knows a little bit about them, they will be prepared. So we need Anfield on their toes from the first second. Without me having an argument with the opposition coach, whatever, we need you from the first second. So if you really want, if it's too much football in December, I don't know. Sorry, we have to play it as well. But if you are not in the right shape, give your ticket to somebody else.
You guys, I'm sorry, but every time he says, if you're not up to the shape, don't come. So if your leg's hurting, If you're sick, if you're tired, if you're not up to it, don't come because we need y'all. Okay. I'm sorry. That is so funny because listen, a couple of things here. He spoke about them having to play midweek and we're not playing midweek. Um, Suck it. I don't care. Like you should have done what we did and basically like thrown the game. So you have to play midweek. Not our problem. You made your choice. Lie in it. Whatever. Um, and he also spoke about, we'll be prepared. Virgil van Dijk spoke about, how they respect Arsenal and we're very good in all facets of the game and all that kind of stuff. And personally, I've never heard Liverpool fans or Klopp speak about us in this way, where it's definitely like a rallying cry. They need Anfield to be rocking, he said, without me having to get into a fight with Arteta. So also take that into consideration. Some of the fights and, the blowups on the sideline and all that kind of stuff are premeditated by Klopp to get the fans up. And this whole Anfield atmosphere, there is an atmosphere there, but the better the team you play, I think the less it matters because Arsenal have gone to big grounds and have been able to withstand the environment. And so I think Klopp knows that he's going to need everything to get something from this game. And so he's telling, if you can't stand up and you can't cheer and you can't, do the thing, don't come. And I'm just like, listen, I've had Liverpool fans trying to say that Arsenal fans are trying to make this about them. He literally mentions us. He doesn't mention us by name, but he's saying they didn't play midweek. They will be prepared. We need you on Saturday. How much more clear could it be that he's talking about Arsenal? And quite frankly, I don't think he'd be saying this if they were playing Sheffield at the weekend. He knows how important this game is. It's a 6-pointer. It's a 6-pointer. And they couldn't even get up for the Manchester United game. Keep that into consideration as well. Liverpool, as good as they are, they could not get up for the game against Manchester United. So he needs to get them up for this match. He needs the fans behind them. And so it's very interesting. I know that we have like this whole thing about don't get Anfield up, but I'll be totally freaking honest with you guys. I don't know if I really give a shit about that. I don't know if I really want the players to be like cognizant of waking up the crowd. You know what I mean? Like, what are we asking them to do? Tiptoe around? Not make tackles. Like, what do you want? I want my players fired up. I want them fired up. I want the fire in them. Not doing stupid stuff like, I don't know, kicking Diego Jota in the face and getting sent off in the first couple minutes of the game. Granted, that's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying I want them to feel like they can compete at this level, even in a cauldron. And so there is a fine line between being up for the game and letting the environment swallow you up. And I want us to be up for the game. I don't quite think that we had the right fire at Villa Park. I don't think we had the right fire. I don't feel like the players were edgy enough. I don't feel like there was enough of that. And so Arteta does bring that spiciness on the sideline. And I think that's a big reason why he acts the way that he does on the sideline is because he knows if his players see him with that energy, they'll keep that same energy. So I don't expect them to be tiptoeing around trying not to tackle Trent Alexander-Arnold because the environment, in the atmosphere in Anfield, I don't expect that, and I do think it's going to be toxic. Listen, we got we're the team to beat. Okay, we're the team to beat. Everybody wants to beat us. Everybody wants to scout. So I don't think Anfield is going to be the way it was when they played against West Ham and when they played against Manchester United. It is going to be as toxic as it can possibly be. But I want our players to relish that. Keep your heads, but be into it. Fuck it. If you got to go through somebody's ankle, go through somebody's ankle. Shit. I don't want us tiptoeing around these environments. I think you watch some of the best Arsenal teams play. They were not afraid to get into it in these environments. Now, you don't want people getting sent off. That's not what I'm saying. But you definitely don't want people to be scared. And so I love to hear that, it was just 2 years ago where, Arteta was, had the speakers out doing You Never Walk Alone at training to get us up for the Anfield atmosphere. And now 2 years later, you got Klopp asking them to get behind them when we come to town. I mean, how things have changed. So I'm very excited for this game, and I cannot wait to see what it's going to be like, because I do think it's going to be one of the biggest games. I think there's goals in this game. I think there's some edginess there. You could just feel it, you know? And they don't like us and we don't like them. And quite frankly, I'm happy to disband Pool. I don't want to see Pool anymore. I don't want them little boying us anymore. I don't want them feeling like they can tell us, "Oh, well, your project, your project, this is how we did it. You guys are on the right track." No. I want you guys to feel like we're taking something from you. I want us to feel like, you're taking something from us. I want it. I want it. I want the smoke. I want it. Because listen, Arsenal are very, very good. We are a very, very good side, so we should be feeling like we can go to Anfield and get something. Not necessarily like 100% we're just going to walk away and win it. But you think we can't go toe to toe with this team? This is not Mane and Salah, that team. This is a different team. It's still a very good team, but we are very good too. And we need to start acting like it. Shit. I don't want us going out there walking around, like and scared. And if we get the crowd up, like, no, I don't want to see that shit. Let the crowd be up. Let the crowd be up. Okay. Kasim says Anfield is overrated. Let's go and do this. This overhyping of Anfield really needs to stop. I mean, you don't have to get grounds up if they're got the atmosphere, O'Malley says it's crazy. We went there last year with a player who hasn't played a Prem game for Crystal Palace, who are decimated with injuries. Anton Dunn said you should do the team talk on Saturday at Just Dam. Listen, if you want me to do the team talk, I can get somebody up. Okay, I can get somebody up, because you guys, like, I'm not saying that we're 100% going to win. Like, I think they're going to bring their game up to our game. I think it's going to be a very evenly matched, game. That's exactly why he's asking for Anfield, because it's going to be so even and the margins are probably going to be so fine that just the environment alone may give you that. But do I want Arsenal to care about that atmosphere? No. We went to St. James. That was supposed to be the most scary place to go, and we were physical. We were up for it. It was a very weird goal that we lost with. And we had Nketiah up there. We didn't have Odegaard out there. Like, we can go there and do the thing. We can go there and get it done. But I don't I just listen. I really want us to go there and give it everything. No fear, no nothing. Do it. Because we can go toe to toe with them. This is not 2-3 years ago. These are two completely different sides. Top Shotta says we want that smoke. Arsenal need to be the antagonist this weekend. MD Agency says Martinelli will cook. Yeah, hopefully. Like, listen, I think that the reason why it's so evenly matched as well is because they have weaknesses and we have weaknesses, and they have players in places that can exploit our weaknesses and vice versa. So it's going to be about, maybe Martinelli helping Zinchenko on that side. Gabriel has to be on his game. He's going to be super important back there. Raya, don't shit the bed, man. Don't shit the bed. This is the game. Wake up. It's time. Step up. No shitting the bed, David Raya. Help Ben White. We know Ben White. He's got an injury. He's got a knock. Everybody pitch in. Saka, Saliba, everybody. Rice, this is you, baby. Do it. Like, it's going to be it's going to be a massive team effort, but they have things that we can exploit as well, i.e. the space in behind Trent Alexander-Arnold. Like, that is the space. Like, exploit it, because he's not going to defend. He's not going to defend, like, on period. Like, he's not going to, okay? So, yeah, O'Malley says, Raya is my biggest worry with Trent and Soboslai long shots. Definitely something there. D'Angelo says, hope you listen, Raya. Listen, he needs to be listening to me, because this is, if you want to get the Arsenal faithful behind you, this is the game to do it. As good as I think Raya is, and as much as I believe that he's going to come good per se, when you play in these big games, you have to be not the reason, but because Anfield, we know that they're going to get shots. We know they're going to get chances. You kind of need to save our asses a couple of times, And so I think he actually, for me, is probably the biggest worry, just because we know that they have good long shots, and they also are good in the air. You know, they're good in the air. They're going to have Virgil van Dijk and these guys like on corners and stuff like that. So, Raya, if you don't come out, you know, if you just are up there doing this, you know, you're fucked. You're fucked. Like, I'm sorry, I have no one else to tell you. you're done. So get it together. Manin says we really needed Tomiyasu for this one. And this is why I can't be that harsh on Ben White as much as I know people are frustrated with his lack of 1v1 defending on that side. He's playing with a knock because Tomiyasu is not available. You know, I think had he been available, maybe you still have to play Zinchenko, but you know, Tomiyasu would have been playing on either one of those sides. So you're mad about Zinchenko playing or you're mad about Ben White being out there. Well, a lot of that has to do with the fact that Tomiyasu is made of breadsticks, you know. So we just have to deal, you know. We have to deal. The team says Newcastle and Villa away were games where we were the architects of our own downfall. Hope the players have learned their lesson. Agreed. I think more so the architects of our own downfall more for me is the Villa versus Newcastle. Now, I do think we could have done better on the goal against Newcastle. But I think there was enough things that were smelly about that goal that I'm like, you know, it's probably not a goal on any other day, you know? And we just weren't playing with our best team possible either against Newcastle. We had Jorginho, Rice, and Kai Havertz in midfield. So no Odegaard, no Jesus, you know, it was rough. And defensively we were really good. But Villa definitely was architect of own downfall. Do you know what I mean? So I agree with you on that front, you know. Martin N says Zinchenko is the concern. Um, everybody's gonna have to work together. That's my thing. It's that I think you have to also remember that Zinchenko adds something that can help us exploit them and unlock them too. But on the defensive end, everybody's gonna have to work together, and everybody has to kind of tell Zinchenko, can you not dribble out of the box? Can you kick it out? Can you be a defender in the box? You know, so I do think that I understand that Zinchenko presents some openings for the opposing team, but just like Trent, Zinchenko does things for us going forward that without him we can't do, you know. So I think it's he's really risk versus reward, this player, very much so. So hopefully we use him, you know. MD Agency says you're shameless to say sell Tomiyasu, my friend. People are saying sell Tomiyasu. I would not sell Tomiyasu. I just think that, you know, this season was the season to show that you can be relied upon in the most important moments. And I never doubted his quality. I just doubt his legs. You know, that's it. And so it's another season where he hasn't been able to show that level of availability. And so for me, that just kind of means that he can't be relied upon as much. But I wouldn't sell him. BJK says that midfield is there for the taking. Endo looks suspect. Hello. Again, they have things that it's not like you're playing against Fabinho and Thiago and all these guys. Like you're playing against different players. So it's going to be evenly matched, I think. And so if you guys want a little bit more of a preview for this game, I did do a full preview with Diluted. We talked transfers, we talked Liverpool and all that. That's coming out on Patreon tomorrow, Friday morning. It'll be available. So if you guys do want a full preview of that, you guys can find that there. Like I always tell you guys can try it for free for 7 days. And if you guys don't like it or it's not your vibe, you guys can cancel, no big deal. But you guys get shows on Mondays and Fridays from that with really good guests. And so yeah, and I also did a show on his channel as well. So we're trying to make that a weekly thing. So again, like I said, if you guys want to see like a more full preview where we talk about, you know, how to exploit them, you know, the environment, how we're going to beat them, what does it mean if we beat them, should we expect to beat them, all that type of stuff. What does it mean if we don't win a trophy? All those types of things we talked about on there. So if you guys want to check that out, you guys are more than welcome to on patreon.com/she knows Arsenal. Now, let's talk, because there's 300 of you guys in here, which is crazy. I love that. Make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel. And if you're new, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss another show. And where you been? I've been on YouTube for like 3 years now. Where you been? but yeah, people are asking me if I've seen Saka's blonde hair. Yes, I have. And you, before an important match, do we have to do this every time? I don't like the new hairstyles before important games, and I'm yet to see somebody at Arsenal change their hairstyle and then play the game of their life. Like Saka dyeing his hair blonde is really throwing me off here. I'm just like, bro, like, why? Like, could you do it over the January break? So we don't have to see it. But listen, you have to have the game of your life. That's all I have to say. That's all I have to say about that one. Don't don't have a terrible game, Saka. It won't be good. Like BJK says, Ben White PTSD. As soon as he dyed his hair and put the peroxide in it, he's been ever since then. And it does kind of remind me of Rashford a little bit. So I'm like, please, please. So yeah, I want to talk before we get into Super League and Orny Bomb. I do want to bring this up because it is something that I've been wanting to talk to you guys about, but I was like, when do we talk about it? And I thought once I saw this video that it was probably a decent time to talk about it. Oh, Odegaard on Arsenal.com received a Christmas present, and obviously it's this mug, and this mug says best captain ever, or something like that. Yeah, best captain ever. He talks about using it and all this kind of stuff, and it reminded me of a tweet that I saw the other day, and it said, and this is from Mo Arsenal 86, who does tend to give really good like in the know Arsenal information as of late. But they said it's too early for now, but eventually Declan Rice should be captain one day. This is not an insult to Odegaard, who brings different qualities, leads by example. Rice is just that guy. No hard feelings, man. Such is life. In no world is Odegaard a better option. Sorry. And he received a lot of backlash from this. I mean, there's 570 quote tweets, um, 47 bookmarks. I mean, there's loads of comments. Some people agreed with him, but a lot of people, disagreed too. And I wanted to bring this up because I have thoughts on this, which will probably come to surprise you guys because I know a lot of you guys know how much I love Martin Odegaard. He's my favorite player, and I will fight on the front line for Martin Odegaard. I really will. I think he's a fantastic player. He makes us better. Without him, we look like shit. He's fantastic. He really is. I think he's also been a really good captain. And I think when we were searching for a leader a couple of years ago, he stepped into the role and has done a really good job. Now, Declan Rice, he had that in focus that came out on Arsenal.com, and it showed some people had picked out the moments where he was talking to people and stuff like that and put out, saying he was a leader. And that really started the captain conversation, especially because he had a flu game. He went out there and performed even though he was very ill. You know, two things. I do think Declan Rice is probably a better fit for captain. I'm not under any illusion that Odegaard would be a better captain than Declan Rice if you were choosing just fresh. If we didn't have a captain and we had to choose between so and so and so and so, everybody would choose Declan Rice and nobody would complain about it, right? Because it makes sense. But in order for Declan Rice to be captain now, you would have to strip the captaincy off of Odegaard. And this season, like right this moment, because even though Mo wasn't saying that, he wasn't saying do it now. He said it was actually too early. There were people over the last couple of weeks that have been saying he needs to be stripped of the captaincy, and it needs to be given to Declan Rice. So I know these are conversations that are being had, but I don't really understand what the thought process would be behind people wanting Odegaard not to be captain right now, because you would have to strip him of the captaincy. And like the Ramsdale Raya conversation and every other conversation that we've had about like player FC and all this kind of stuff, it becomes such a large conversation, and Arsenal don't need any drama or anything that's going to distract from what we need to be doing, which is winning trophies. And so stripping the current captain, who's really done nothing wrong up until this point, and giving the captaincy to somebody else 3 months, 4 months, 5 months into them being here doesn't feel like the best use of time or energy when we need Odegaard to do anything this season. As much as people don't like Odegaard and don't like him because he's soft or he doesn't do thing in big games, he's still one of our most important players. And we don't look like the team that we look like against Brighton or against Lens or against Wolves or against Villa or anything if he's not on the pitch. So in order to give somebody else the captaincy, you have to strip someone of it. And a lot of times when you're stripping somebody of the captaincy, it's because they're not doing a good job or they're not, they're toxic or whatever. Think about the circumstance that had to happen in order for Harry Maguire to be stripped of the captaincy. Odegaard is not really he doesn't need to be stripped of the captaincy. He's not doing anything to be stripped from the captaincy. And can Declan Rice not lead? Does he have to have the armband in order to lead? He's leading now without it. We have a leadership group. So I don't really see like desperation for it. And I kind of think, it's going to be difficult to take that captaincy off of Odegaard without him leaving the club. I just don't see the right moment to remove the captaincy from a player that is there. Usually it's somebody leaves, retires, leaves, or does something that they need to be stripped. I don't know many circumstances where the armband changes hands without a player leaving, and I don't see Odegaard leaving anytime soon. The time will come. I think there may be a chance that Odegaard leaves in the future, maybe in a couple of years, who knows? But this desperation to cause drama when there isn't any drama, where Declan Rice can still lead this team and be a part of the leadership group without an armband, feels a little bit like people are focusing on the wrong things. We don't need to cause any drama. We just need multiple leaders. And for us to be in a situation where we have multiple leaders in the team now, when before we couldn't find one, I feel like we're trying to make a problem out of nothing, and we don't really need to. So I accept that at some stage, Declan Rice will most likely become captain of Arsenal. And that may be because Odegaard's not here anymore. He leaves or whatever. I can accept that. And I think that Declan Rice is probably more suited to the captaincy if we were just to choose blank. But to need to strip him right now or feel like that's something important right now or whatever feels a little bit like, I get that people don't love Odegaard that much. I don't think he's a loved player like that. He's not that guy for Arsenal fans. I get that. But this feels like a very strange use of energy and shit. Like, I don't really understand it, but I do think Mo got a lot of unnecessary backlash off of this. He didn't say it needs to be now. He actually said that, it's too early, but it's definitely not a conversation that we have to be having based off of a couple of games where Declan Rice has been fantastic and a leader. It just feels like kind of like maybe a little bit of the Raya Ramsdale thing. Once you have somebody else to compare them to, you want to see the other player or the other person right away. Like people were really desperate to see Raya the moment that he got into the team. So even when Ramsdale wasn't necessarily doing anything diabolical to like lose his spot, it was like the constant conversation was, when is Raya going to become number one goalkeeper? When is he going to get his chance? And I feel very similarly about Odegaard versus Declan Rice. Like, can we just be okay like about it? It's not that deep. So yeah, Odegaard doesn't need to be stripped of the captaincy, because that's what it is. When you change like usually when somebody loses it, it's a big choice to make somebody captain. They usually keep it until they leave or retire or they're stripped. And Odegaard's done nothing to be stripped of the captaincy at this stage. And Declan can still leave, the way that he's doing it now. It's really not that deep, NSW says he's not that guy for English fans. Boy says 2 years. There's no rush. I agree. Kasim says Arsenal fans on Twitter are just crazy active and are always looking for something. I just joined, but I still can't see it. Dennis says captains have influence. Stripping Odegaard of the captaincy when he's done nothing wrong would affect the dressing room in some way. Just because he's not vocal doesn't mean he's not influential. Ernest says you guys are making an issue of none. # captaincy. Michael says, thank you, Jess. Being a leader doesn't mean you have to be the captain. Let Declan Rice lead for now without the pressure of being captain. He's been here for 4 months. It's like an inevitable thing. Do you know what I mean? Like once Declan Rice signed, I was like, at some point he's going to be captain. And I think even like Arteta said it, he could be Arsenal captain at some stage. So it's just not something that has to happen right this second. And I don't really understand the rush for it. Blue to Radio says, Jess, a lot of this fan base is reactionary and short-sighted, always looking for something to freak out about. Mo didn't need to bring up that convo. And yes, I do agree. A lot of English fans do it. And the thing is I know exactly where it came from. I'm on Twitter just like everybody else. It was the in focus, and then people started showing the moments where he was talking to people and this and that and telling people where to go. That's just who Declan Rice is. It's no different to me than Granit Xhaka, if I'm honest with you. I think Declan Rice is a superior player to Xhaka. So I'm not saying from a playing profile, but Xhaka was the loud guy on the pitch telling everybody what to do and this and that. And it never really took away from Odegaard leading by example. Jesus is also a leader. Jorginho is also a leader. So it's not that deep. I really don't think it's that deep. But I do think that one little video, that in focus video, made people feel like, also in conjunction with those couple of games where maybe the Aston Villa game mostly recently where he didn't score those goals and people were like, he can't be captain anymore. I've seen people say it and I just feel like it's like, why? Mr. says you don't need the armband to be a leader. You ideally have several leaders on the pitch in several positions. I agree. Tawanda says Odegaard, Jesus, Rice, Zinchenko, Jorginho are leaders. I would say the one person I would take out from there is Zinchenko. I don't think he's a leader. But I actually think, maybe unpopular opinion, I think Gabriel's actually a leader. He's actually had the armband before. So yeah, but if you switch Zinchenko out and put Gabriel in, I think that's kind of the leadership group, which is fine. It is what it is. Arsenal Perspective says, smash the likes, people. Nearly 150 likes. Let's aim for 200. Thank you so much. There's 400 of you guys in here. Make sure you guys are liking this video and subscribing to the channel. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up and give my thoughts on that, because it's just kind of like, as big of an Odegaard fan as I am, I understand the want for Declan Rice to be the captain. It feels right. It looks not like a natural thing for him, but we don't really have a captaincy issue. We don't have one. So there's no reason to make something out of nothing. So there you go. Let's chit chat a little bit about, let's go with the Ornstein bomb and then we'll finish off with the Super League thing, because I'm actually waiting, if it hasn't happened yet, for Arsenal to denounce the Super League. Have they done it yet? Because I don't want to really talk about it until we've done the business. Oh my gosh, Saka's video has come out of this. Do you guys want me to show it to you guys? I will if I can get it up quickly. Hold on. Talks amongst yourselves. I'm going to get it up so you guys can see it. Watch me work. Got it. Okay. Let's do it. Here we go.
I was younger, all of my friends are dead.
This is Saka. This is the hairstyle if you guys haven't seen it. So here we go with the bullshit, Saka. You cannot have a bad game, sweetie. You cannot have a bad game, because this is very unnecessary. Very unnecessary. But I don't hate it, but I don't want to. I just, oh my goodness. But look, I think Saka will have a good game, to be honest. I don't think it'll stop him. I don't think the peroxide will get into his head or anything. So let's see. So have Arsenal denounced the Super League yet, or Liverpool haven't either? So maybe we don't need to. I don't know. But let's talk about Ornstein and what he said about Arsenal's potential January business, because we've been speaking about this for the last couple of weeks. That, listen, we need somebody to come in. I don't think we can go through the January window and not bring in anybody. I don't think we're going to bring in 4 or 5 players. That's not my expectation. But if we were to go through the entire window and not do anything, I'd feel like we're throwing our chances away because we have too many injury prone players that we'd be relying upon from January all the way to the end of the season when we have multiple competitions. And history would say that don't work, So there you go. But basically, let's start off with the first little parts, right? That first of all, Ornstein has basically shut down all of the in the knows and showed you who the in the knows are to listen to and who are the ones to ignore. We know who they are. They talk all the time. They don't be really saying nothing. They be making shit up. Like, listen. But he basically said that Ivan Toney will most likely stay at Brentford until at least the summer. No developments on his future. So, and we've also kind of read some things recently about Brentford wanting almost like they could be asking for as much as 100 million for him to leave in January. Maybe this also has something to do with Mbomo being injured too. Listen, Ivan Toney makes a lot of sense at the 50, 60 million mark. He doesn't make sense at the 100 million mark. And as much as I would love to have a striker in January, and I do feel like reinforcing that position gives us a big boost in our wanting to get trophies, I'll never be able to help the feeling that we have a really good chance of getting Osimhen in the summer potentially, and we will have ruined it by bringing in somebody that's more of like a stopgap rather than a level raiser. And so not really a stopgap, but like he's a floor raiser, but not a level raiser. And he's not going to raise our ceiling at all. He'll be better than Eddie, but is the goal really to just get somebody better than Eddie, or do we want somebody that's going to take us into that next stratosphere? And so if we have any chance at all at getting Osimhen, we have to look at that. Ornstein also said that Arsenal are interested or like are also looking at Osimhen, they're looking at Benjamin Sesko, and they're looking at Evan Ferguson, which I also think makes it really obvious what type of striker we're looking for. All 3 of those strikers are aerial threats. They're like nailed on number 9s, in my opinion. They can do little stuff on the ball, but really their main job is to score goals. So no real false ninery going on. Big, strong, physical presence. Benjamin Sesko is young, and so is Evan Ferguson. Osimhen is pre-prime, but he also has years ahead of him. And so that's a good thing. I don't necessarily feel like Arsenal are doomed if they don't get this striker or whatever. I just don't think we can go without a defender and a midfielder. Those are the 2 positions that you guys know I've been saying it for weeks that if we don't get a defender, we're cooked. We need somebody just in case. We have too many injury prone players. Zinchenko, Ben White is dealing with injury issues right now. Tomiyasu can't be relied upon. And Saliba probably still got a back issue, so we need to be really careful here. He also said that Arsenal are not interested in Dominic Solanke. That's not really that surprising. And Arsenal are not planning to sign Douglas Luiz. He is not wanted unanimously at the club. Now, the Solanke thing we can put to the side because I don't think anybody really wanted him. We don't really have to talk about it. But Douglas Luiz one is interesting because Ornstein has said multiple times that he's not wanted unanimously by the club. What do you think that means? Personally, what I think that means is Edu and Kia are trying to get a Kia client to Arsenal, and Arteta is resisting. Arteta's like, nah, bro, no. And we wouldn't have never got him in January. But if Arteta doesn't want the player, we're not going to get him, I think. I think there's something about the player. Maybe it's the fact that he's a Kia client, or Arteta wants somebody else that is making there's resistance there. Douglas Luiz definitely speaks to like the people that love Partey, because Partey is somebody drop the shoulder, more press resistant, a little bit more of a physical player, whatever. So people that like Thomas Partey probably, if they want to replace his qualities, would probably align more with Douglas Luiz. Now, I'm kind of on the other side of the coin where Douglas Luiz, cool player, whatever, it's cute. The player that I really like and I really think we should go after, maybe not in January because it probably won't happen in January, but ask him again in the summer, is Martin Zubimendi. That's the player for me. Like, I think he's the one because he's just a more physical version of Jorginho. And personally, when you put two players together, if you want to put Declan Rice and another player together and you want Rice to play further forward, I think the player he needs to play with is more of a passer, IQ guy than a bruiser like Paulinho and them, So that's kind of my feeling on it. But Ornstein also spoke about like Arsenal still admiring Zubamendi quite a bit. And but a lot would has several factors would have to combine to make it happen. Probably, some maybe Real Sociedad doesn't make the Champions League this season, because he wanted to stay to do the Champions League with Real Sociedad. If they don't make it into the top four in La Liga, maybe that changes his mind a little bit. I think Arteta would have to really convince him that England is the place for him, and things like that. But Arteta can convince anybody of anything. He convinced Willian that we would win the Champions League in 3 seasons. Like, he convinced anybody of anything. So I think that, Zubamendi would be a better option than Douglas Luiz in the summer. I know some people view Zubamendi as like this weakling from La Liga that can't make it in the Premier League, but I think that's bullshit. I think he can make it in the Premier League. I don't think La Liga is so lightweight that anybody from that league cannot make it. I just think you have to, if you're not that physical, you have to have the brain. And I think he has the brain. But when you watch him play, he does put in tackles. Like, he does get in and amongst things. Like, he's not just out there getting bypassed all the time, right? And so he looks like he's the player that I would go for in January, or not in January, in the summer, for the midfield position. If you can't, I don't know, go after somebody bigger than that, like Frankie de Jong or some shit like that. But I wouldn't, I don't know if I do Douglas Luiz. Something about it just doesn't seem like that's what we need to be doing. Now, in terms of, you're probably like, well, Jessica, what about January? What are we going to do in January? I still feel like you still need to bring in somebody in January. It doesn't have to be a Zubamendi or whatever like that, but maybe that's where like the Amadou Onana or the Fofana or somebody like that comes in. Somebody that can, that can play 6 or 8, whatever, physical presence, that kind of thing. We have to see what Arsenal decide to do. But I do think that they're going to go for a defender. The one thing that Ornstein did not mention at all was a defender. So he neither confirmed that we would get one, but he did not say that we would not. And every single report that has come out has spoken about Arsenal wanting a defender. So I think we'll get a defender. Whether we get a midfielder or not, I think is more based on how much money we have and, whether or not we can prize away somebody that we really want. Because I don't really think we do the loan market very well. I don't think that's something that we love to do, But I found this very interesting because I do think Arsenal need to be really careful about the striker situation, because if you tie yourself to Tony, as good as I think he is, and as much as I think he'll make us better, I do think that you will lose out on opportunities in the summer that might be a lot more attractive. And I'm okay with missing out on Douglas freaking Luiz. Like, I'm totally fine with it. Like, who really gives a shit, He's a good player, but like, he's not somebody to be crying about. Do you know what I mean? So I love it. I'm into it. I'm fine with it. I still think we're going to bring somebody in. I just think it's probably going to be a defender, and maybe a midfielder if we can get our shit together. Lynn says, I think that Arsenal have done business back in the summer for Jan. And he says, I think they will push Ben White or Zinchenko into midfield. If we get a defender, that's an interesting one. T01 says, can Zubamendi play 8? No, but I think what you'll see is the same thing that we've tried with Jorginho a couple of times. We haven't been able to see it enough. I think Arteta wants to still have that option to put Declan Rice in the 8. So if you want to put Declan Rice in the 8, you have to have another number 6. Now, we haven't been able to use Thomas Partey because he hasn't been available. And then Jorginho doesn't have the legs. So there's that. But I don't necessarily feel like you want that player to just be a ball winner. I don't know if that doesn't seem like an Arteta thing, to bring in another number 6 that can't play ball. Paulinho, as good as he is, trust, like he's good at what he does. He's a specialist ball winner, but if you want somebody to be able to dictate play from deep, he's not going to be able to do that for you. Jorginho can do it, but because he gets pressed on so easy, like he can't manipulate the ball, he can't get beyond you. Thomas Partey can do those things. It would probably be perfect for that role, but we can't rely upon him, so it's almost like not having the option at all. So I think Arsenal want to probably find like a version of a player that combines what Jorginho and Thomas Partey can give you. To me, that's more of a Zubamendi than a Paulinia type. So he can't play number 8, but I think that's because Declan Rice can play number 8. And I like the look of Declan Rice in the 8 in the big games. Not necessarily in games like the ones that we've been playing, like Wolves and shit like that. So yeah, Liberian Gunner says this team matured from last season. This is a different Arsenal team. CAA Mafia says, are you betting on Tony? Maybe. Kasim says, I think Tony is more realistic than Osimhen, who can go to Madrid, etc., over Arsenal. It's probably not that realistic to bring in Osimhen, like in terms of like he's not as attainable as Tony. But I think Arsenal need to get to a point where they're buying players that are going to change things for us and not just fill in spots. And if you have even a 20% chance, what would really hurt? Like, I think if you have a 20% chance, you throw your hat in the ring. If you don't get him, then Tony will probably still be there. If he's not leaving in January, you're not going to miss out on him. I don't think so. I don't think anybody else is going to go out there and get him. So if you have a chance to get Osimhen, you try to get him. And then if you can't, Tony will probably still be there. You have Sesko, you have Ferguson, you have other options, so no reason to rush maybe. Arsenal probably just don't want to rush that big decision because it's such a big position to fill. And we already have Gabriel Jesus and he's no slouch, so I can understand a little bit more if we had Nicholas Jackson. I'd be dying to get somebody in, but we have a good striker there. So we'll see how it goes. Olu says Zubi is him, watching him now versus Cadiz. Lynn says, how about bringing in the Everton player Onana? He's tall and very strong. I think you probably need both. You probably need a Zubamendi type, a more like ball player type, whatever. And then you probably still want like a physical option too, like a Fofana or Onana or something like that. It's just a matter of if you can get them. What I've read is that Arsenal want a midfielder in Jan and a permanent midfielder in the summer. So when you're thinking about replacing El Neni and Partey and Jorginho, and you may still lose somebody else in there as well if they sell in Emile Smith-Rowe or something like that, you're going to need to replace those midfielders at some stage. So I think we're still going to see midfielders come in, even though it may feel like we did our midfield overhaul with Declan Rice and Kai Havertz. When you lose so many, you're going to have to replenish that. So I'm not saying Zubamendi is the only midfielder that we need to get, profile that we need to get. We still probably need something else. But if we're talking about get Douglas Luiz or Zubamendi or Paulinia, I'm going to choose Zubamendi. Like, I think he's clear. I think, I don't know, when I watch him, I see an Arsenal player, where I know some people are afraid of getting another Jorginho, which I can understand that, but I don't think he's another Jorginho. I really don't. I think he's more physical, and I think he's the smart player to get, not the obvious player to get, but the smart player to get. He would be perfect for us. The Arsenal perspective says, sounds like a pivotal time for Vieira now for the rest of the season. Get going, Vieira, because it's not looking good, bruv. It's not looking good. DJ Polar says, losing Partey, Elneny, and Jorginho this summer. We're depth shopping this summer for depth in midfield. Exactly. So I know when people hear, oh, if you get Zubamendi, then that means we can't get that physical profile that we want to. I'm not saying that. I think we need more than one midfielder, one in January and one in the summer. But when we're talking about that summer signing that's going to replace Thomas Partey / Jorginho, I think it's Zubi. I really do. I think he's really good. So Zubi Hive, stand up and be counted, because I think we have a good chance of getting him, to be honest. Mr. Happy says, so would Zubamendi be a bench option for you? Not necessarily a bench option, but somebody that offers something different than Kai Havertz. In different games, you're going to need different options. And I think as our Arsenal become more competitive and more competitions, more top players will be open to being a part of a very competitive squad, versus when you're in Europa League and you go out at all of the domestic cups early, like we have kind of been doing, players will be less likely to want to come. But if Arsenal gets serious and they have Champions League and they're going for the Premier League and they're also in the FA Cup and all this kind of stuff, more players, like you can rotate 4 real look at me like Declan Rice. Did you guys see that video where he was like the 4th or whatever? That's how exactly what I was doing. But I think you can have 4 top quality midfielders that rotate. I do. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Now 5, 6, 7, now you're getting into crazy numbers, but if you have 4 top quality midfielders that are splitting time, I think that's ideal. I think that's ideal. We also saw that if Odegaard can't play right center mid, Kai Havertz can do a job there too. So, it's not like one or the other. We have players that are very versatile. Declan Rice can play 8 or 6. Kai Havertz can play on the left or the right, so there's different things that you can do. Mr. Happy says, Arteta has strong connections to Sociedad. He probably knows Zubamendi's family, etc. Get it going. Send the text. Get on the WhatsApp. Listen, we'll take care of him. We'll make sure. I almost said something outrageous, and I will not say it on here. But I will not. That's for group chat shit. But he'll be fine here. Faya says, Osimhen will be perfect for us. D'Angelo says, we need a right-footed center back. DS Electronics says, don't come. Winning Ways says, Icardi has been doing well this season. I think he could get 15 goals for us. Isn't he going to go Real Madrid? Maybe. I don't really like him, and I don't like the drama he brings, but that's just me. DJ Polar says, Zuby Hive. Exactly. Zuby Hive. Let's go. Kando says, what if Arteta's signing a midfielder instead of a striker? I mean, we're still going to get a striker in the summer. Like, I think that's pretty clear. But in terms of getting a midfielder instead of a striker for January, I feel like that's valid, you guys. I feel like it's valid. I feel like it's valid. I feel like a midfielder is more important than a striker. And I think a defender is an absolute priority. So defender, midfield, striker. But I think we're still going to get a striker in the summer. Does anybody think we won't? I think we're pretty much set to get a striker in the summer. Winning Ways says Arsenal should be trying to get Thuram, center mid, who plays in France. He plays for Nice, I think. He would be our Yaya Toure Diaby. Can play 6'8" or Fofana all day long. I think he's better than Luiz and Onana. You guys know I like Fofana. In terms of Thuram, I haven't watched enough of him, but I've heard good things. Kasim says Arteta's comments about Rice playing center back may indicate we might go for a midfielder and a fullback. Fair enough. DJ Polar says the market is decent for strikers this summer. It's on the cards, in my opinion. I agree. Roscoe De Sol says facts, get a Zubi. And Fraser says you won't get a striker because of FFP, Jess. In the summer, we'll be fine. We just have to sell. We're probably going to have to sell players, but you just have to even out the books. But yeah, we're definitely getting a striker in the summer. Just maybe not in January, which is fine. It does leave things up to chance. We can't be missing sitters and shit like that. People have to get serious, but I do think that I think we'll get a striker in the summer. Do you guys still think we need like a winger? I haven't heard anything about a winger, but I was talking to Diluted about this, but I don't feel like that's a priority, but some Arsenal fans do feel like we still need to go out there into the January window and get back up for Saka. Does anybody still feel that way? Like, before we get off this topic, I want to gauge your guys' opinions on this, on the winger scenario, because I don't see it as a priority, but some people are still like, we need to go out and get Neto. We need to look at Nico Jackson, or is that his name? Is it Nico Jackson? No, Nico Williams, all that type of stuff. Lynn says, what if we have Tony on loan and then sign him in the summer, because by that time Tony will have bedded in? I think maybe the problem with Brentford is you take him permanently or you don't get him at all, because from their perspective, it doesn't really make sense for them to loan him to us, because that doesn't help them right now. If we loan him, unless it's an obligation, and I don't know if that's what we would want anyway, then that doesn't help them. I think what they want is 100 million or 80 million or something like that, or nothing at all, because they have a major injury to Mbomo as well. So they're not really in a decent, they're not in a good position, so I don't think it really suits them to loan him to us just for us to see if we really want him and shit. I don't think that really helps them at all. So I think they want us to buy him, and that's probably the sticking point. Let's see. Lynn says Jesus could be back up for Saka. Cholo says if we are to get a replacement for Saka, I think Bailey would be a good fit. If you're talking about Bailey from Aston Villa, he's so injury prone. I don't want him anywhere near Arsenal. I think he's good. Don't get me wrong, but is the Arsenal good? No, I think there's much better options like Bakayoko. DJ Polar says ideal summer, 2 midfielders, a striker, and a right wing. But we need a defender. Kevin Neto, maybe we get one in January, so it's fine. Kevin Neto says we need backup for Saka, but I don't know anyone who will be at our price range in January, probably in the summer. Agreed. The Arsenal perspective says, can we sign Tony and Raya on loan? I don't know what the little rules are and stuff for it, to be honest with you guys, but I don't think we'd be entertaining the idea of Tony anyway if we already knew we had Raya on loan. So why would we entertain it if we didn't think we could get it done? But it doesn't look like it's getting done anyway. So I'm not sure. Jimmy says Nelson is good enough backup for Saka now, if you can even call him backup at this point. He's basically a water boy at Arsenal. I mean, damn, he can't get any playing time. Arteta definitely doesn't rate him or whatever, or I don't know what it is. But Reece Nelson is not getting any playing time. He's not really suitable backup for Saka because Arteta doesn't use him in the most obvious times that he should. So I guess the thing about Nelson is he's maybe not good enough in Arteta's eyes to make him feel confident enough to sit Saka down. And so Nelson is definitely an interesting conversation because he signed a new deal, but Arteta doesn't use him. Paul says, hey, Jesse, what do you think about Yusuf Fofana from Monaco? Do you rate him good enough for Arsenal? I'd take him in a heartbeat. I would take him in a heartbeat. I'd say, listen, he's going to leave in like 18 months. His deal is running down. So here's 30 million. We gave you Balogun for basically free. Hand him over. I think he's a really, really good player. I mean, he's a French international, for God's sake. He should be at a better, no offense to Monaco, but he should probably be playing for a better club. He's really good. DJ Polar says, could it be a masterstroke for Mikel to secure their contracts to protect their value with intentions to move them on? Eddie Reese. Yeah, I mean, protecting their value is fine as long as you sell them when you have a really good opportunity to. I think what we tend to do is re-sign players, give them higher wages and stuff like that. And then when people want to buy them, we say, no, we want to keep them around. And then they go for lesser fees later down the line. If somebody offers us 30 to 40 million for Nketiah, you need to bite their hand off for it and pack his freaking bags. But I just have a feeling that, I mean, we sign them up to these bigger contracts, which makes it more difficult for other teams to be interested in them because, quite frankly, Reece Nelson and Nketiah are not going to teams that are going to be like dying to pay them 90,000 pounds per week. So I don't know. I think with the Reece Nelson and Nketiah thing, it's all about whether or not you can sell them when the opportunity comes. And I think sometimes we wait too long. I think the only time that we've done a good job at this is with Willock. 25 million, boom, bam. Nobody's really thinking about it. That's a good chunk of money, especially like for that time, like 2021. If this was now times, that would have been like 45 million, because the market has just shot up since then. So we need to do more of that. More. Sell. Like when they still have value, sell. But I have a weird feeling that we're going to keep Nelson and Nketiah too long, to the point where it doesn't matter that we maintain their value because they will sit around long enough where the value won't be there anymore, Winning Way says all these players like Nelson, Smith Rowe, Eddie, time to go. I want to see new young players have a chance. Noweri, for example. Faya says, we absolutely need a striker. I am tired of watching my team missing simple chances. Enough of us not finishing our chances. Striker in January is a must. So you're saying, yeah, I mean, I get you. I mean, I could see like seeing us miss the wide open chances is probably really frustrating. But when you think about the January window, if we didn't need other things, if we didn't need a defender or a midfielder, I could see where a striker becomes a must, but you have to pick and choose, That's kind of how I think about it. But some people do feel like you have to get the striker. And I can kind of understand that. Kevin says, seriously, though, if we get just Zubamendi in January, I think it's a perfect transfer window because he will fit in perfectly. I think he's the type of player that fits in seamlessly, to be honest. I don't think he needs that much adaptation. I think he'll get it right away because this might sound weird to say, but he seems like a very intelligent player. Like, he always has time on the ball. He's never in a rush. He always just kind of seems to have the picture. I think that's the type of player Arteta would want in his midfield, you know? William John says, did you play football at any point in time? Yeah, when I was much, much younger. I played all the way through college. Kevin Neto says, Zubamendi, Cunha, Anderson, perfect January window. Cunha from Wolves? He's a bum. Like, let's be real. Like, he's not very good, is he? Anderson, you guys know I like Joachim Anderson. I'm Crystal Palace. I rate him very highly. I just wonder if he has the speed and athleticism to play at the halfway line like Arsenal do, but I rate him very highly. I like him a lot. So yeah. But listen. Let's see what happens. We have 10 days until the January transfer window opens. So we'll be having these conversations for the next 2 weeks or so, like 2-3 weeks. So no reason to be, you know, we'll know our fate, at some stage. No reason to panic just yet. But let's talk about the Super League because there's 450 of you guys in here, and at some point there was like almost 500, which I was like, not even in the transfer window. I mean, it's basically transfer window time, but I love that. So new people like and subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And we have to talk about the new Super League because I'm trying to understand why we're still doing this. Listen, listen. The new format. Basically, all they've really done is made a new, like, basically Champions League, Europa League, Conference League. That's basically what it feels like to me. It doesn't feel like the whole point of the Super League the first time around, I think, from their perspective, was a closed league so that they didn't have to compete, so they didn't lose money by being relegated or not being in the competition. But now they've figured out a way to add relegation and promotion, multiple levels, teams from outside of the competition can grow into it. And blah 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 blah. I am not surprised that everybody is kind of like, I don't want this shit. It's basically like what Barcelona and Real Madrid wanting this shit bad because they're broke. And they're trying to pull people in by saying it'll be free to watch and it'll be this and it'll be that. There'll be loads of money for the teams that compete. It's an open competition, several divisions, 60 to 80 clubs participating, less matches to protect the players, massive income for all participators, and free broadcast for everyone. Those are like the key points. But this does feel like a little bit of a ploy to kind of get what they want anyway. Some of the smaller teams, I think, have accepted the Super League, like PSV, Anderlecht, I think. Porto, some of the Italian clubs, they've accepted the Premier League, or the new Super League, but a lot of other people, like a lot of other clubs, have already condemned it and said that they don't want it. Real Madrid and Barcelona will receive a loyalty bonus for remaining in the Super League project, according to some. This could reach like 1 billion. So they're kind of trying to brown nose people into getting into this weak shit. I don't understand what the point of it is. The way that things are set up now, if you have the relegation and you have promotion and you get it based on like where you're doing your leagues and all this type of stuff, I don't really understand why we would be moving competitions or whatever. I actually don't have a big problem in the way that things are done right now. I don't really get it. I'm trying to understand what I'm like, why is this coming back? Like, the first time that you guys wanted it, you wanted it because it was closed. And so you wanted to have something that protected you from losing money and basically having more of an entertainment style, more of an American style league versus European style that's more based on sport. So I didn't really understand what we were doing, but there's something stinky behind there, because if that's what you really wanted was the closed league, now you're offering something that to me just looks like Champions League, Europa League, Conference League. That's what it doesn't really seem that different. I think what they're trying to get people to go over with is more money for the clubs and free for people to watch. That's, I think that's all it really is. So it's fucking weird that they're doing this again, but everybody's pretty much condemned it and it's flopping and whatever. I wish it. Do you guys remember what it was like when the Super League first came out? How crazy those times were? Man, I remember when that shit came out. It was like everybody was, this is a disgrace. This is disgracia. It's nonsense, So I don't really see what the main difference of this is, that it's basically the same thing that UEFA offers, but with the promise of more money in it for being free for fans. But there has to be something stinky behind it, because Barcelona and Real Madrid are involved and they're broke. So there has to be some back end shit that they're getting that we can't see, because it doesn't look like that bad of a proposal up front. But I feel like they're trying to suck us in with something stupid. Winning Way says we're all getting sucked in. This bullshit ain't happening. FIFA, whoever will come to agreement. Blaze says, Jess, you're always like blah, 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 blah. Even Terry has a meme when you say blah, blah, blah. I say that all the time, but you guys know what I'm saying. DJ Polar says, even Stan opened his mouth. Roscoe says, it will happen. They're fighting over who controls it. Jimmy says, the crazy thing is that this time around it could actually happen. I mean, they're pushing for it. They really are pushing for it. And where there's money to be made, that usually ends up being what we end up doing. I just wonder what's going to screw us over in the end. And maybe it's just the fact that they want it out of UEFA's hands and they want it into somebody else's hands, because UEFA is also trifling. All of these governing bodies are freaking crooked. UEFA, FIFA, everybody. So there's something on the back end there. But this proposal doesn't look that different to what we're experiencing now. It just doesn't, it doesn't look that different. So yeah, Kasim says the beauty of football is going to away games like Luton and getting spanked. The thing is, though, is that they're saying that this is in conjunction with your domestic league. So from what I read, it doesn't take away from what we're doing domestically. It's just an additional, it's the same. Like it doesn't take away from your domestic league. I don't think that's what the video that I read. It said you have your domestic league and then you have that shit too. So, and that's the thing. It's like, I didn't want to leave the Premier League and then do this. I think, yeah, like you said, the beauty of it is going to Luton and getting slapped, so, I don't think that when I looked at that video, it said that it's in conjunction with your domestic league and that these games will be midweek. So it's literally just, we're going to do the same thing, but we don't want UEFA in charge. We want somebody else in charge, and basically maybe so that they can get the money, but it stinks. Tawanda says La Liga are not doing well financially. Makes sense why they join. Alistair Ben says they are trying to bring down the Prem. They don't like how big it has gotten. Mal Shitha says Real Madrid ain't broke. They have the most valuable teams in Europe. Fair enough. They're not broke. So then why are they so invested in doing this? Steve Stone says, I can see City and Chelsea jumping ship if they get punished for the ongoing. Brian says greed from Spanish clubs. Years ago, Madrid and Barca mortgaged their futures by spending money they didn't have, and now the receipts are coming due. DJ Polar says, do they want to replace domestic football or just the UEFA competitions as the mainstay European competition? The second thing that you said, UEFA competition as the mainstay European competition, not the domestic league will still be there, which is just crazy. Winning Way says next year's Champions League is changed. Apparently it becomes a league, so more teams can play each other and the final teams go through the knockout stages. So yeah, they want to change the format, blah, blah, blah. Like there's a lot of shit going on right now, for me, I personally am like okay with the way that things are going right now. I don't this is all about money. Like that's all it's ever really been about. And I'm a fan. So I just want to see us in our domestic league and then be able to fight fairly to get into European competition. I don't want us grandfathered in on some coefficient bullshit. I want us to have to earn it just like everybody else. And I didn't love the fact that they were going to pick teams based off their coefficient and they were just going to play in a closed league and they would play that league and you couldn't get in and you couldn't go out. And then you play in your domestic league as well, or you separate from your domestic league altogether. I didn't like that at all. This just feels like a transfer of power from UEFA to somebody else, still playing your domestic league. So it is what it is. But to me, it's only about money. Like I don't think it has anything to do with anything other than that, and that's on period. And again, for people that are saying that Real Madrid are so rich, I don't see why you'd be heading this whole thing when we all know it's about money. If you had all this money, just because you have one of the most expensive squads doesn't mean that you have a lot of money. If that makes sense. So yeah, this feels very, very like just pulling the wool over our eyes or whatever. There's a power struggle here and it's stinky, but whatever, man. The Arsenal perspective says if they want to go against UEFA, collaborate and speculate with the current format, pump the money into current format, and be a big player driving it forward instead of this new ESL. White says, is this white be white? Says the Super League is the same closed shop dressed up as something else. The team in the top tier of the pyramid will be guaranteed at least 3 years of Europe, no change. That's, you know what? I think that's one part that I did see is that somebody said, I'm glad you brought that up because that was one thing that I did see that I didn't really understand. But now that you're saying that, it does make sense. That somebody said that this year's like really good Girona team, even though they're playing well right now, would not be able to play in the top tier of the competition for 3 more years. So that's where the little bit of making it into almost like a closed league, you get it for 3 years. So to me, if that's actually what it is, which now makes sense that you're saying that, that's not fair to a team like Girona or even like Aston Villa. Like let's say that they finish in the top 4. That's not fair to them if they can't get into that top tier when they deserve to, because it should be a year-on-year basis. It shouldn't be 3 years. So that fucking sucks. Like if that's actually what it is, I didn't read that part, but I saw somebody say that. That's not cool because the whole thing about football is 1 year, no matter who you are, it could be your year, Leicester's year, Girona's year, Bayer Leverkusen's year. And so you should be able to get the benefit of those things right away and not have to accrue it over a long period of time, because that basically just gives the bigger teams time to just bust you up again. And so I'm not a fan of that shit. I'm not a fan of that at all. I think that's the beauty of football. The beauty of football is that if you get it one time, you get to reap the benefits of that right away. William says, can we just forget about the furnace? It's not going to happen. Ocampo says the reason European Cup changed to Champions League, money. The Arsenal perspective says, would love Girona to win La Liga, would love it. I love the idea of a team outside of the big teams winning something, but not in the Premier League. I need us to win. I'm not trying to see Aston Villa win. I mean, Girona is cute. And we also have to keep in mind who owns Girona. So is it really like this plucky upstart? Not really, but it still could be a decent story, couldn't it? Winning Way says the whole idea of home and away would be gone. Stadiums would be sold because teams would be in Saudi 1 week and Italy next week, or LA or Japan by the end of the month. And that's the thing is there's also this push to have games be in other places and to add Saudi Arabian teams to this shit as well. So there's a lot of stuff going on, but it's all based around money. Like I've seen that they want to, just like they do with the NFL, they want to have teams from leagues in Europe play games in New York, play games in LA, do all this type of stuff. And I'm just like, this is just a lot. This is just a lot. And it's not going to change because, again, the more popular the sport becomes, the more money that's there and people are greedy, Ocampo says Saudi will soon play in the Champions League. Maybe the game dream league is true, I do think that they'll be in at some point. If you have players like Ronaldo and people like that in that league, that sets the precedent for them to be in there, because Ronaldo brings fans, he brings, because I've already seen that, like, Messi's Inter Miami are going to play against Ronaldo's Saudi Arabian team. I don't know what team he plays for, but that sets the precedent because people are going to spend the money. Like, the tickets to go see Messi for Inter Miami were like $600. Like, it's all about money, isn't it? Blaze says, Jess, don't you think they want to make Super League like NBA, but between big clubs like Barca, Real Madrid, and Bayern? Yeah, because if things are a closed league, then you don't lose money. If the league grows, everybody gets money. But when there's relegation and promotion and things like that, you do lose money. It becomes more difficult, So I think that's why American owners probably struggle a little bit when they first buy into Premier League clubs like the Glazers and the Cronkies and people like that, is they're not used to it. Like, they're used to just the league ending and it's fine. They don't have to be in the Champions League. They don't have to be in anything extra. They just have to be in these playoffs or whatever, and nothing really changes. Where in the Premier League, there's a lot to lose based on where you finish. In American leagues, if you bomb, you get the best recruits, So if you bomb in the Premier League, you don't get anything, So there's a lot to be said about the differences between European sports and American sports, and how the Americanization of sport is more about becoming more entertainment like than sport like. And I think people are cottoning on to that. Owners are cottoning on to that. And they're like, if we could get closer to that, we will lose less money and make more, where fans are really more invested in the sport aspect of things. And it takes away from the Cinderella stories and what really makes football fun, which is big clubs crashing and small clubs getting their moment every once in a while, right? And they want to take that shit away, and they just want to protect their pocket, But for me personally, I just feel like eventually this will happen. Some sort of super league, some sort of changing of hands, some sort of something will happen. We just don't know when it'll happen, but the fact that it continuously comes up, I'm sure that something will change. Football has always changed. I'm sure that people didn't think that the original way that the Champions League was done, when it was changed over to the Champions League that we know now, they would have never thought it would have happened. So football changes, and it will happen probably in our lifetime. So yeah, Winning Ways says we could see 5-10 signings a window with the Super League due to the amount of money that would be coming from streams, winning and playing in other countries. Reminds me of Formula One. Robbie says, I'd be curious to see the data that supports the idea that 3 years is earned in the format. If it's publicized as means for more participation, more money, than your Gironas, Aston Villas, Leicester's, Union Berlin's get in, it spreads the wealth. I'm no economist, but rising interest is going to spread the wealth. Arsenal Perspective says, not sure why Saudi could or should play in the UCL. I thought it was a European competition. I don't know if Turkey's considered in Europe, are they? Am I stupid? Did I say that and it's so dumb? Somebody correct me quick. Because the teams in the Turkey League play there, and I don't know if they're good. Let me shut up. Let me shut up right now. Let me shut up right this moment, because I'm about to shut this stream down. They're in Southeast Europe, but they're considered a country in the Middle East, Turkey. Let me shut up immediately right now. Cut it out. I'm cutting this part out. I've been on here for too long. That's what it said. Our Turkey in Europe. The pain. You guys, leave me alone, yeah. I'm so dead. Okay. All right. Okay. Gunpie says, shaking my head. Listen. Let me shut up. I've been on here for too long. You guys, I'll cut it out. Listen. I don't know why it'd be okay for Saudi Arabia to be, or the Saudi Arabian League to be like a part of it. But if they are in it, I think it's literally just because of the money, and as they're going to be able to get more players as that league becomes more successful over time, they'll be able to convince better and younger players to go over there. The fact that they were able to convince some younger players like Ruben Neves to go over there just for the money. There was another player as well, really young player that was playing for who's he playing for? We were linked with him, a Spanish player, I think. He's like 22 and he went over there, So if they're able to, this is just the beginning of the Saudi Arabian League. They're also tapping into women's football as well. And they've already been able to get players to go over there. So as that league becomes more popular and they're able to attract better, younger players, the Champions League is going to want to have those players in it. And so instead of starting a whole new thing where it's like, instead of just like the European Champions League, it's going to become like the world tournament or some shit like that. They'll just add one of the Saudi Arabian teams in there, and that'll just be how it goes. And it'll just become normalcy. It'll become normalcy in like 20 years. We'll be like, yeah, a Saudi Arabian team always gets in the Champions League, the top of that league, blah, blah, blah. It's how it's how it goes. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, that's just how it is, The Arsenal perspective says, please, I'm not xenophobic at all. I just think that Saudi has an opportunity to make the Middle East a powerhouse of football without being a part of the UCL. Anton Dunn says, the nation has a whole budget for making this happen. DJ Polar says, Gabri Viega es desgracia. Yes, exactly. So yeah, exactly. That's the guy. So yeah, as eventually there'll be a Saudi Arabian team in there, and I won't be surprised when it happens because everything is about money. So yeah, but you guys, we spoke about everything that I wanted to talk about. Thank you guys so much for being involved in the show. This has been a really good one. At one point, we had almost 500 people watching, which is really, really good. So I really appreciate that. No live show tomorrow, but again, like I said, if you guys want to do like a full preview and you want to see the show that I did with Diluted, you guys can join patreon.com/SheKnowsArsenal. You guys can do it for 7 days for free. See that show. If you guys don't love the Patreon, you can just not, cancel your membership after that. But we do shows on Mondays and Fridays. So, and the next time, if I don't see you guys on Patreon, I'll see you guys immediately following the Liverpool game. I'll also be doing a watch along for that. So y'all asked for them, so y'all getting them. So yeah, but make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel on your way out. I will 100% be deleting that little part about Turkey off of here. So don't tell nobody. Don't snitch on me. Be my friend, okay? I've been here for a long time and I probably need another cup of coffee. But love you guys a lot, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.